So before we tell more about ourselves to our audience, let me first give you a quick introduction to Apache OFBiz. It was founded in the year 2006, and which is now almost 14 years ago. It provides a foundation and starting point for reliable, secure, and scalable enterprise solutions. This is an open source product for an automation of enterprise processes that include framework components and business applications for ERP, CRM, e-commerce, supply chain management solutions, manufacturing solutions, and maintenance management system. So there is a huge variety of enterprise applications that can be automated with the help of this product. And there is a vibrant community that supports you on this journey if you choose Apache OFBiz as your solution. There are 51 committers and 30 PMC members who are helping other community members in learning Apache OFBiz and then adopting it and building solutions top of that. So now let me introduce myself quickly. As I already said, I am Pranay Pandey, currently working as VP of Operations, Hotfix Commerce, and I have been part of Apache OFBiz community since 2007 now. It's now more than 13 years. I have been part of the project and mainly delivering solutions top of Apache OFBiz in the retail domain. I'm also a committer and PMC member with Apache OFBiz. And now please join me in welcoming our first guest, Nicola Mazzoni. He is the CEO, CTO of MP Style and has delivered many projects top of Apache OFBiz in last 3 years. He was also speaker at ApacheCon 2019 with a speech entitled with the most used buzzword these days, which is omni-channel approach. So his speech title was OFBiz in the fashion industry and omni-channel approach. So Nicola, we are glad to have you and having this opportunity to interact with you.
Hi, Pranay, and nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. So Nicola, to start with, would you please tell us about your professional journey so far?
Sure. My professional career as a developer starts at 19. 1 week after high school, I hired in the software house of my computer science teacher. Mm-hmm. I work as a freelance developer, analyst, and project manager for many different companies and software houses, but always in the fashion industry. Let's say that my area of expertise is business processes in the fashion world, and obviously write software that try to improve and optimize them. Sure, I'm currently CEO and CTO of MP Style, an Italian software house that develops ERP solution, but also B2B and B2C, guess in which kind of industry.
That's really very interesting, Nicola. You played many roles, you have gone through many different roles and the challenges, I would say, and it actually excites me further to know more about your overall experiences so far, and just to take it forward and to learn more from your experience. There is this question that I have for you, that what are your thoughts on using open source products? Because being an organization that is using open source products for delivering solutions for business automation, there are definitely certain myths that you can help the evaluators that these are just myths and can be debunked. And also there are general questions around the licensing, like is there licensing a challenge? So can you please throw some light on these questions? Like, what are your thoughts on
that? Sure. Think about, I work in Europe, and in Europe, 70% of employees work in companies with less than 250 employees. So if I think of open source, I think of free to download software. Companies do not have the strength usually to customize the software. Therefore, the effect of having the sources is not perceived as an added value. It perhaps perceived as no man's land. So, and therefore the management does not know who to contact for support and assistance. And the myth to debunk, to dispel, is an old mentality to dispel in a decision maker, in my opinion, and is proprietary software is safe because I have a contact person and there is a software owner who take care of maintenance of all development and so take care of me as a company. So this myth must be dispelled. In reality, I think is often quite the opposite. I'm not talking about open source system software, but with OFBiz and my experience about the business software, so ERP, B2B, WMS, CRM, and so on. Companies and managers do not want freedom, so, but want security, reliability, and support. So we have to make it clear that open source software is safe. It's safe because it's not tied to a single software house. So is open and I have support because I can have different partners working on the same software. And the software is reliable too because it's probably used by hundreds or thousands of companies and has a shared software support and source support. And this is an economic level because I am free as less blackmail. So in my opinion, this is possible is if there is a network of partners working on the same open source project. Within the community, they can be contributor, committer, and so on. But with companies, they must be partners.
Very well said, Nicola. And I completely agree with you on this part that product evaluators, when they land up to any of the open source solution, when they are evaluating it, they are mostly not attracted by its feature that it's free now or it can be just downloaded and can be reused, but they are mostly concerned about these three factors that you have talked about, which is security, reliability, and support. And there is one more factor that can be added here that I have experienced, that they are mostly concerned about the scalability as well. Like they are mostly from the enterprise grade they want an enterprise grade solutions that can scale up based on their needs and requirements. So they are also concerned about that. And then one more thing can be added as the ability to integrate with their legacy platforms that they are ideally having it, right? And that's
Sure.
where that's where you might also be having the experience with that. We'll definitely be talking about that on from what's your experience on that front. um, uh, like would you like to throw some light on like overall experience or the journey with Apache OFBiz, like when you started, how was your journey? Did you hit any roadblocks, or it was just very smooth? You learned it pretty quickly and then you hired some developers, and like it, how was it? It was difficult, easy, like how was it? Please share some experience on that.
Yeah, Pranay. I started working with OFBiz free 4 years ago. So I needed a Java framework for B2B, B2C web project with the ability to expand on ERP, obviously, because which is my main knowledge and our core business. So I came across OFBiz and I said, wow, because I downloaded OFBiz, take the book, study the data model and a framework a bit. And after a few days, I realized that was what I was looking for. Indeed, much better than what I was looking for. So I started the project for the client, specifically hiring two full-time Java developers, junior Java developers, on their first job, because I wanted young, enthusiastic guys with no experience on other frameworks. So I wanted them to love OFBiz like me. So I followed them in the early stages. We learn OFBiz together. Obviously, I had to follow other projects. So at time, I joined a senior freelance Java developer to help the guys. So the first project was not easy at all. So you can understand me. But my goal was not to make a custom perfect project for the perfect client. So, but create something flexible, great background and standard and stable for subsequent projects. In fact, the other maybe 10 projects we have done to date on OFBiz have gone much better. So
yeah, that's great to hear from you that and I'm in my opinion it was a fine approach, because with young engineers there is definitely no preconceived notions when it comes to learning a new framework or a new technology. So it's
yes,
ideal to go for the talent which is looking out for some good technology or the frameworks to learn from and to use those technologies for building solutions. So yeah, that was a good approach. And I myself have been involved in training many engineering graduates who joined our organization, and it has always been an experience. Like initially, it's a huge framework. I would say it's a big framework because it covers up a lot. Apache OFBiz, if you want to learn it from scratch, and if you don't know anything about it, uh, there are certain prerequisites. But yeah, if you have just picked it up and started learning it, then obviously all this effort has to be put in that you just mentioned or talked about. So yeah, that's definitely, I would agree on that front that the approach was good. But yeah, I at the same time I would like to say that it's not that scary, or not will not be that scary for the experienced developers as well, if they are willing to learn. Because
yes,
uh, in my opinion, there the artifacts are pretty clear, the code is very readable, and there are tutorials and all those documents available. From developer point of view, there are so many documents. So for a developer, learning curve is comparatively easy, I would say. If an experienced developer comes in, it should be pretty quick to get started with Apache OFBiz. Well,
yeah, I totally agree with you, Pranet. So
perfect, perfect. So, obviously, this journey wasn't easy. I agree on that. And uh, uh, as being a huge framework, it creates initial troubles, and it was a learning curve, I would say. Now you must be very comfortable with it, and the developers as well. But yeah, I would definitely love to have you giving us details on like what sort of resources that you would like to recommend here, or what resources that you found very helpful. Did you find the community, Apache OFBiz community around? Uh, did you get enough help from mailing list? Like how was the support around that?
yeah, sure. The mailing list is very important in the first phase, but also in the second and third phase too. But in the first phase, the Lance Silverstone's data model resource book, I think, is the focal point for a beginner. So, and first of all, I learn from the framework, because the XML of services entity of OFBiz is an human readable XML. So the code, the Java code, the Groovy code is of excellent quality. In itself, OFBiz is not a monolithic project, but is service first. Therefore, it's very understandable and readable. So,
Yeah, I totally agree with you on this point, Nicola. I myself have found this very helpful, that you can go and jump in the code and you can write it, start reading it. It's very human readable. You won't find reading like zeros and ones there. It is really
yeah,
a readable format that you have in. Um, So, and yes, the community members have always been responding to the newcomers who are willing to learn the framework. They get the support, and there is a vibrant community of all these committers and PMC members. And along with that, there is a huge community of the developers and contributors who directly come and contribute to Apache OFBiz. So, yeah, learning curve can be made easy for the developers if the proper approach is taken by using the mailing list and available support from the community members.
Yes.
Perfect. So, like you have been building solutions for many businesses in the fashion industry. I'm curious to know, Nicola, like uh, once you deployed the solutions, like, and then obviously once you adopt the technology and you put in you train your people to use those solutions, right?
Mhm.
And once they use it and follow the SOPs that you have defined, the business grows, right? The
Yes.
business grows and the scalability comes in picture, like now the system is going to scale up or not, or you will always need a new server to handle the load or the uh, new peaks that your system is going to see. Like, so how has been your experience on that front?
Yeah, yeah. I think the scalability is one of the strong points of OFBiz. In my experience, my first initial project was a single tenant on a single server web application, but it scaled in a very short time to 3 tenants on 3 front clusters with a database server and proxy server too. And it was simple for us. And then so we are all developers, and there is no system engineer in my team. So we followed a code first
Mm-hmm.
approach, and it rewarded us. And so another kind of scalability is business changes. So
Mm-hmm.
because the data model of OFBiz based on Lance Silverstone
Yes.
book is very, very flexible. So it can adapt to change. So it is the true scalability, not only the bare bones scalability, not only the hardware scalability, but the scalability so it can adapt to change
Yes.
because business models change more and more often.
Yes.
And I think Offbit is great in this.
Yeah, very true, Nicola. So, uh, with your experience, it's super clear that with the right selection of the product, you get the power and the efficiency to scale up as per the business growth. At the same time, the growth of the businesses which are adopting a particular solution, like the tenant-based architecture you were talking about, in both the cases, and the robust data model, which is easy to customize when needed, helps you even more in specific business scenarios where you actually need the customizations, because in the enterprise business there can be some custom scenarios or the requirements or the use cases for which
Yes.
you need to extend the model. So model has to be flexible enough. And on top of that, on the model, and top of that, OIBIS supports OIBIS data model or the database, I would say it's database agnostic. That's the beauty of
Yeah.
Apache OFBiz that we can appreciate. Like you are not bound, or you're not married to one database saying, okay, you can
Yeah.
only work with MySQL or you can only work with Postgres. You can choose the database of your own and you can take it from there, and the data model which is defined there in Apache OFBiz will be loading into that particular database. You just need to connect. You need to connect it, and then it will go in there. So this is something which gives you more power and efficiency to address the requirements of those legacy systems, or whichever the preferred database of the customer, you can go from there.
Yes, I totally agree. Think about our uh, my project, our legacy project on mainframe. So we are able to use OFBits on mainframe DB2 platform, for example, as
Mm-hmm.
is a great possibility.
Yeah,
Yeah. Without changing the code. So
without changing the code. Yes,
yeah,
that's a big deal. That's a
yeah,
big deal. Yeah, an advantage. So, Nicola, as a business owner, you run an organization, you provide solutions, you build solution top of Apache OFBase. being in business owner and a user of Apache OFBiz, would you like to put up some recommendations for Apache OFBiz community, like which can help the community in more adoption of the product, more business users, more businesses are adopting Apache OFBiz, and we are spreading it like, yeah, you can, as we already discussed earlier, that OFBiz can be relied on. You can trust Apache OFBiz. It will give you a secure, scalable, and sustainable environment where you can actually run your business on. So, what's your thought on that? Are there any recommendations or any thoughts that you would like to share here?
Uh, yes, I think first of all, create an organized and well-made basic documentation.
Mhm.
So even if not extensive, but that can be a good starting point. And I think also making the site and communication more business oriented and less developer oriented.
Mhm.
Therefore, success story, description of real project with names and logos of companies and
Mhm.
partners.
Yeah, I totally agree on that, Nicola. And I also see that there are already some initiatives from the community on this point. Uh, the community is willing to improve the documentation, and that's where the ASCII doc are also introduced, which can be of help for the business users, which goes along the OIBIS releases and which are maintained along with the code itself. And there is the restructuring of the documentation being done, and there are some people who have taken the initiatives, and basically you and I are also part of that effort,
Yeah.
willing to build some good user guides for the business from the business side. And obviously, sooner or later we should think of updating the Apache OIBIS website itself for putting on more success stories and descriptions of the real projects, possibly if we have the permissions from, if there are no legal obligations basically. But yeah, there should be some real user stories which motivates the evaluators when they come and evaluate Apache OFBiz. So yeah, that's a very good suggestion. We should definitely discuss this with community and take it forward.
Yeah.
So Nicola, what are your future plans? Like how where do you see yourself going in future with OFBiz?
Yeah, my future plan is go ahead, just continue that I start on the first day I downloaded OFBits.
Mm-hmm.
So use it in more and more projects and rewrite all our legacy software
Mm-hmm.
also on mainframe platform on the OFBits platform,
Uh-huh.
which is actually happening. So because my developer team that use OFBits use only OFBits and no other framework. It would, I think it would be too dispersive. So I decided to focus all possible
Mm-hmm.
energies on OFBits with a dedicated team. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, Nicola. And focusing on one thing definitely helps greatly as an individual and as an organization, both at both the levels. If you focus on single thing, it gives you the results that you want. So yeah, that's definitely a good thing. And I'm so happy. Uh, I'm so happy to witness this you saying this because we need more people like you who are committed in such a way. So there is this interesting thought that is coming to me, Nicola. Like if you were the host of this show, if you are hosting this show, what is that question that I did not ask and you would like to ask yourself? Is there any is there any question that you think I might have missed?
yeah. For example, maybe I would ask myself, but if OFBits is so flexible, why do you only work with the clients from the fashion world, for example?
Right.
Yeah, because I would reply to that to be credible in the eyes of customers, that is not only necessary to just collect requirements, apply the DevOps methodology, and the success of the project is guaranteed. So the requirements must often be understood, and you must know the business very well. So, for example, how could I do an ERP project on an automotive company if I don't know anything about the automotive production processes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is at least this applies to my experience in business software. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I totally agree to that, Nicola, because having the business domain expertise and in-depth expertise in whatever domain you are delivering solution in is super essential to deliver the right solutions efficiently. Yeah, so uh, there is this, I would say, thing that I wanted to ask, and you can call it something that I would ask. I'll definitely ask every guest on this show that we'll be having. Like, if I personally, if I say Apache OFBiz, or if I think of Apache OFBiz, for me there are these three words that come to mind. For me, it's community, learning, and growth. And for example, so for someone it can be collaboration, motivation, and devotion. Or maybe it can simply be open for business, which was named by David and Andrew when they wrote this framework initially.
yeah,
Uh, Before it actually came to Apache umbrella. So like I wanted to ask you, what are the three words that comes to your mind when you think of Apache OIBIS?
sure. I think first of all, community,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a community project. So enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
So and freedom. So
Wow.
community, enthusiasm, and freedom. So is the three words I choose for OFBIT's experience and OFBIT's project.
Awesome, awesome. I love these words: community, enthusiasm, and freedom. Yeah, thank you so much, Nicola. So yeah, the last question on this show I have for you, Nicola. Like, where can our listeners can connect with you online?
Sure, with my personal email, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and is uh, I do the spellings obviously. Nicola@gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you. Great. So thank you so much, Nicola, for sparing your time for this podcast today and sharing your personal professional journey, experience with Apache OIBase, recommendations for OIBase, and your future plans to be committed to OIBase and fashion industry. Thank you so much for giving your time for this show.
Thank you, Pranay. Thank you for having me.
Well, so I would like to thank you. Thanks to all the audience as well for their time, and stay tuned for more such learning sessions. Thank you so much.